Hey guys, it's Joe Carrell. Welcome to another episode of In the Mix. Today we're going to talk about lead vocals, specifically 4 points on how to get our vocals to set within our mix at the proper volume.
Baby, let me be your money tree. I can get you what you want, I'll give you everything. All you gotta do is...
All right guys, so I'm in the mix room and I have Kayley Hill's Money Tree pulled up. Kayley is an amazing vocalist. It's kind of a swampy country thing. Some of you may recognize her from TV. She was she appeared on The Voice just a season or two ago. Without any further ado, let me play a little bit of the song. You can kind of get a feel for what it's all about. Okay?
Baby, let me be your money tree. I can get you what you want, I'll give you everything. All you gotta do is ask me, baby. No, it ain't no time for me, baby. Lean on back and baby, let me be your money tree.
It was a lot of fun. She's amazing. So, you know, if you're going to talk about this song, the first thing you have to talk about is her vocal because it's fantastic. And she sounded really good that day in the studio on the chain that I had for her. I had the WA-47 tube mic, and that was going into the new Tone Beast Black preamplifier, and that was into the WA-2A tube compressor. And I was getting about 5 to 6 dB of compression that day. That microphone was an incredible match for her voice. So much that it kind of affected my my treatment, which is good, right? You know, you don't always want to do the same thing depending on the sound that was captured. You know, you have to change things up a little bit. So let's talk about her vocal. Some of this is stuff you've seen in some of my other videos, but you'll notice there's a few different, differences in plugins here and there. So let's go through the chain just kind of quickly. It's the acoustic audio tape machine emulation. That's hitting something that's a little different. This microphone was such a good match for her voice that I didn't really need EQ in the traditional sense, like corrective. All I needed to do was kind of fit her into the track. So I called on the DSP MC2000 here. It's a multi-band compressor that I've used for years. It's just an old standby for me. And I'll let you kind of see what it's doing.
Baby, let me be your money tree.
So here's the low band, and this is the high frequency band. So it's not even affecting the high frequencies, but you can see the crossover points, 272 and 1K. It's really just kind of making the tone stay consistent from section to section as her tone changes, as she's changing, the pitch of her voice. And that is going into this Acoustic Ruby 2 EQ. And this is a real great tool for when you want, again, an incredible capture and you're just looking to add some beautiful color to that capture to make it set in the mix. So you see I'm adding a little top end, notching just a little bit, but not very heavy-handed at all. And then I've got the L-Ray compressor, which is just a staple for me, and I was getting about 7 dB of compression on that. And that is going into another staple of mine over here, the WA-76 compressor from Warm Audio. Let me show you about what it's doing. All right, so let's take a look at what we're doing with the 76 here. It's the top one right here. You see the attack is set right here to around 2 o'clock. The release is as fast as it will go, and I'm at a 4-to-1 ratio. I'll hit play here and we'll take a look at the gain reduction, okay?
Baby, let me be your money tree. I can get you what you want, I'll give you everything.
Okay, I think that sounds great. That'll do it. Okay, and then after that, I'm getting just a little bit of de-essing, about 5.5 dB here at 4,300 cycles. This is a great tool. It's the DSP DE555. And then after that, I'm notching just a couple dB here and there at about 2,400 cycles as she's really belting, just taking the edge off just a touch. Then after that, I have the MC77 from Plugin Alliance, serving as my parallel compression track. If you haven't seen some of my other videos on vocal mixing, I spend more time and go over it in more detail. I'd encourage you to go back and watch them. I am getting a little bit of reverb here from the LX480. And that's set to heavy ambience, and it's only about 1.5 seconds of decay time. It's a short, I'm not looking for the traditional, reverb tail. And then I am also getting just a little bit of echo, a little bit of EC3000 from DSP. Love this. It's set to a 16th note, classic tape setting. And you'll see my high pass filter is about 122 cycles. My low pass filter is set to around 5K, just a little under there. Quite a bit of heavy saturation there. I'm looking for a colored sound, as well as the width control. I'm not using it in full stereo. It's kind of in at around 50-50. All right, so that's the treatment, but I really don't want to talk about that too much today. I want to talk about a question that I get from a lot of less experienced mix engineers, and that is getting the vocal to set right within the mix. It has a lot more to do than just the plugins or the hardware compressors or microphones that we use. Mix-wise, how do I get the volume to set where I want it to set? A lot of young guys say that they feel like it's always too loud, it's too quiet, it varies too much from section to section, and just doesn't sound, pro as much as they would like it to. So let me give you a couple tips, okay? Okay, tip number one is something so simple it seems really obvious, and that's just comparing your own work to reference mixes. Now, where I see guys get in trouble is that they're not listening in the environment that they are working in. So be sure you're listening in your studio with your speakers or your headphones that you're comfortable with, where you're going to actually performing your mix. Spend a lot of time doing your studying, we'll call it, there. But also beyond that is don't just listen to mixes that you love, in the musical genre that you love, if that's not the genre that you're working in currently. So, comparing your lead vocal volume to some hip hop record when you're working in bluegrass or something is not going to work, because acceptable lead vocal volumes can radically change from genre to genre. All right, so tip number two, and there are there's two schools of thought here, but let me tell you my approach, and that is, because the vocal is without a doubt the most important element within like 98% of the songs that we're going to mix in our career. Because of that, as soon as I've listened to the track, and I mute the lead vocal fader and work on just the band. And the reason for that is there's a lot of, nuggets, we'll call them, within a music bed a lot of times. Some little things that a guitar player does, or a keyboard player, whatever the case may be. There's these little melodic ideas, musical ideas that all of a sudden I find that I wouldn't hear if the vocal was really loud on top of the track. So then I can pull those up and make sure they're heard, so the listener gets a chance to enjoy them as much as I did. Okay, and also more beyond that is I'm building dynamic within the track. As I'm mixing a track, maybe verse 1 is here. I'm building intensity in chorus number 1. I'm coming back down for verse number 2. Then I'm building intensity again. It's constantly moving in volume. And I'm creating that, with automation and things like that. Maybe even the arrangement creates that in and of itself. But that's what I need when I add the vocal back in. I know where the track's going to be at all times, so I can lay the vocal back in there and automate it, up and down with the track to make sure that it stays at a consistent volume where I want it all the time. Okay, so again, start with the music first. Okay, tip number 3, and I started touching on it a while ago, is to use automation. Compression alone in most genres, is not going to get you where you want to be ultimately. Yes, we use it, and up to a certain point it sounds great, and then after that we're just taking energy and excitement away from our mix. So you don't be afraid, to get your finger on a fader or the pencil tool on your mouse, whatever the case may be, and dig in from section to section, phrase by phrase, and even syllable by syllable, to get that vocal to set where you want it at all times. For example, I want to take a look at the screen here for a second. So look at Kayley's voice. This is verse number 2 right here. Look at the level of automation that I'm doing. Pulling up that word for excitement. You're pulling up that word for excitement. Pulling that down. Look at the large volume swings. That is how, above compression, that I'm creating this excitement and this energy and also consistency throughout the track to make sure her vocal sets where it needs to be at all times. There's no shortcut for that. That's just get in there and get it done. And that's really what separates a good mix from a great mix, in my opinion. Okay, number 4, and this is a good one. I had a producer teach me this when I was really young, and it in my early days, it was a biggie for me, and that's the low volume test. The thing about low volume when you hear a song and you're just hearing it kind of faintly, the most important elements of the mix should be what pops out. Some of the more subtle details and tracks that are just padding and stuff in the background, maybe you don't hear. But the things that are really important, bass drum, snare drum, lead vocal in this song, that slide guitar and that harmonica, things like that, you should still hear that even at a very low volume. So what you do basically, let's say you set your vocal where you think it's right, okay, verse 1, this is what I believe is right. Simply push play and then turn the volume in your control room down all the way until it's almost completely muted, and you should still be able to hear the lead vocal even after most everything else has disappeared. Not only should you hear the lead vocal, you literally should be able to hear every single word, every single syllable, okay? So let's just test that right here. Okay, I've got this trim plug in on my stereo bus to accomplish this, so you guys hear the same thing that I hear. All right, here we go.
Baby, let me be your money tree. I can get you what you want, I'll give you everything. All you gotta do is ask me, baby. No, it ain't no time for me, baby. Lean on back.
Okay, so I hope you guys heard what I heard, and that is, in the control room here, I turned this thing down until we were almost just above a muted stage. But we could still hear every word as clear as a bell. We could hear the kick drum, we could hear the snare drum, we could hear that slide guitar, the important things, but every syllable of her vocal, even just above muted stage, was still audible to us. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And I hope this tip, along with some of these other ones, help you guys reach, some mastery level within your mixes. Feel free to leave us some comments and let us know if you have any other tips, all right? Hey guys, thanks for watching. All right, guys, as always, thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate your support and all your friendly comments and everything like that. It means a lot. All right, and if you haven't already, be sure to follow Warm Audio and myself at In the Mix with Joe Carrell on our social media pages like all the other cool kids are. All right, so here is Kayley Hill singing Money Tree.
your money tree.